again, and welcome to Media War Stories, behind the scenes tales from the front lines of the media. I'm your host, Tom Curley. Welcome to another show where we will try to regale you with tales of stuff that happened in the business. I was a TV director for CBS for 40 years, and this guy was a famous TV reporter in Boston for about the same period of time. Mr. Gary Armstrong. Gary, how the hell are you today?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. The weather is starting to look like and feel like real spring, so that's a big bonus. There was something I wanted to ask you about. This is something that shouldn't be done on the air, but it's your show. I was watching something on Turner Classic Movies, and they have a whole bunch of different things,
Well,
movies, talk things, and the show I was watching or the series I was watching on Turner Classic Movies is the history of late night talk shows, and it included everyone going back to Steve Allen. And the point I wanted to bring up was when they landed on Johnny Carson's tenure on the Tonight Show, he came out and he was doing jokes about the White House. And I was thinking, okay, he's talking about something that occurred 50 years ago or 60 years ago during uh, the Nixon presidency. And this had to be like 71, 72. And Carson's whole monologue was about the presidency and how crazy the world was and could it get any crazier? And I just had to chuckle to myself. Some things never change. And, you know, Owen, Marilyn's son, my stepson, probably your nephew, because extended families always wind up being uncles or aunts. So your nephew, Owen, just celebrated a birthday uh, yesterday. The young kid is now 55.
oh
55.
no, I
That
didn't
should
know.
make you and I feel old.
Oh
But
my
he was
God.
talking in the course
Oh my
of
God.
our conversation last night that he
One.
had met the former president. And he's told me that it was a meet and greet um, back in 1985. So Owen was a teenager. I'm doing the math in my head as we go along. But the point is, this gregarious guy, this Mr. Sociable person, he gave Owen a quick, wet squeeze of the hand and turned around and walked away in less than a second. There was very little conversation, which was the first inkling I've had with someone who's actually talked to this fellow. But I understand you have.
Yeah, well, as I've said, over the years, I have met doing, doing the morning news, evening news, 60 Minutes. I've met
Yeah,
every president, vice president, actor, singer. It's something you really don't
right.
think about that much, afterward. But I met him briefly. I was working a 7 to 3 shift. I was probably doing the bulletin center where my job is to hang around and do nothing unless the network had to do a special report. And then my job was to put the network on the air by myself. And if
Right.
that sounds stupid, it was. But nonetheless, that's what the job was. So anyway, I went to the cafeteria to get something to eat. And I took an elevator that I normally don't take from the basement to the first floor. And so I got on the elevator, and the elevator stopped at the first floor, and in walked Donald Trump and two ridiculously hot women. I mean, I don't know if they were beauty contestants or models, and a very, very nervous kid, a young kid in his 20s. And I knew
Yeah.
immediately why they were there. CBS was taping. They taped a show that Jerry Seinfeld produced called "The Marriage Ref." It was on, I don't know, maybe for a season, and I'm not sure what network it was on. And it was obvious that he was a guest on the show, because when the guy got on, he said, do you know where they're taping The Marriage Ref? And I went, yeah, no problem. And so, well, could you give me directions? And I could see that he was nervous. And the broadcast center is sort of like a maze. So I said, "Yeah,
Hmm.
I'll just take you there. It's easier." Because I mean, it wasn't like I was doing anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from the ride up from the first floor to the second floor, and then I walked them down the hallway and took them to the green room. But what impressed me was that during the whole encounter, Trump not only didn't talk to me, he didn't look at me. I didn't exist. That kid didn't
Wow.
exist.
Wow.
And the two hot women we didn't exist. And I mean, I've been around enough celebrities where I thought, wow, this is actually funny. And, you know,
Yeah.
uh, it was just amazing. I mean, I simply wasn't there. And so he walked
Yeah.
off. And I remember walking back to my studio thinking, wow, what an asshole. And, so
Ah.
that's
Ah.
my experience, with Trump. So that was that story.
Well, that links up with, I think, with what Owen told me, that it was just, yeah, that Owen said that he felt that he wasn't there. Uh, the shaking of the hands didn't mean anything at all. And if you're a celebrity, as we well know, you're kind of bound to at least be polite to fans or people who meet you. I mean, that's the cardinal sin, not to overstate it. But that's kind of interesting. That means he was all into himself even back then.
Oh, he's always. I mean, look, he's always been like that. But I mean, but it was also there was just this air of imperiousness that was just like so phony. I mean, I've I've said before, I've met Bill Clinton, I met Jerry Brown,
Right.
I met, uh, you know, everybody, and these guys had, Clinton in particular had say what you want about him. I'm sorry, whether you like him politically or agree or disagree. Trust me, that guy had charisma that was
Oh boy,
palpable.
did he?
I
Yes.
I am a cynic. I was stunned. I All right. The first time I met Bill Clinton was on the very first day of Up to the Minute, our debut
Hmm.
broadcast, and I was standing there at 12 noon, and we didn't go on the air till 2 o'clock that morning. So I was there from 12 noon till 8 o'clock the next morning. It was a long day, and I wasn't in a terribly good mood. So I'm standing there holding a microphone, waiting for Clinton to show up. Now, at the time, it was the day after or shortly after he had announced that he had smoked marijuana, but he didn't inhale. And it was
Right.
shortly after the 60 Minutes interview with him and Hillary about the Jennifer Flowers affair, which basically Hillary told the country to mind your own business. This is between me and my husband. And at the time, the whole country went, you got a point. Okay, fine. So he was not number one
Right.
in the polls. I think he was like six. It was during primary season. So there I am. And in he walks, surrounded by the president of news, Secret Service, his entourage, whole bunch of people, all big shots. And he walks in and he sees me and he breaks away from the crowd. And he walks over and he goes, "Hi, how are you? I'm Bill Clinton. I'm running for president." And I just was like, whoa, this guy is good. Because I mean, it just hit me,
Yes.
and I'm thinking like
Yes.
either this guy's the real deal, or man, he knows how to put it on. So he did the interview, and it was fine. And then when the interview ended, his whole entourage surrounded him, you know. And as that was going on, an old guy from the cafeteria, an old black guy, he was there every day. He brought up the afternoon coffee tray. All right, did it every day.
Right.
So he walked, got out of the elevator, walked into the studio, and Clinton immediately got up, walked away from the whole entourage, walked over to this guy, went, I'm Bill Clinton, I'm running for president. How are you? And this guy just, you could see just like, he just lit up. He was like, oh my God, this guy's talking to
Right.
me and he's friendly. And I just went, damn. Now, the next day, Jerry Brown was the guest because he was also running for president. And completely the opposite. He was sullen. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He was sort of nasty. Monica Gale did the interview, and she's the sweetest person on the planet. And at the end of the interview, he got really nasty, and he went, well, you didn't even give me a chance to give my 1-800 number for donations. And she just looked at him, and she smiled, and she said, no, I didn't, did I? And she walked away. So, they're all different. Clinton had it.
Yeah.
I don't know what Trump has, but it's not. I can't call it charisma. Snake oil salesman, whatever. So the trial is still going on of the Stormy Daniels, and this will air probably a couple of weeks afterwards. So this is old news. Stormy Daniels testified, and apparently she gave a little what they call too much information. But it sure was fun
I
to
noticed
listen to. And of course, everybody's, of course, he's screaming fake news, which they love to do. And I recently did an episode of Get Off My Lawn called Revenge of the Sane. All right. And basically what it's about is I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, what do we do to fight fake news? Why can't we put out fake news? Why can't we, counter the right-wing crazies with our own crazy posts? And I said, well, we can, we can, but we don't.
Yeah.
Because, well, we're sane. That's the problem with sanity. You don't want to do insane things because, well, they're insane. And so when things like this happen, I usually, when I don't know an answer to a question, I usually ask, what would Captain Kirk do? Okay? And that gives me, my answer. Except this time, nothing. But then I realized I was speaking to the wrong person, thinking of the wrong person. The question is, what would Mr. Spock do? Okay? Because you got to realize, in the world of Star Trek problem solving, which I ascribe to, all the problems in Star Trek are solved in 4 ways. If it's a disease, McCoy finds a cure for it. If it's a computer that's malfunctioning and needs to be turned off, Spock either unplugs it or makes it do something that'll drive it crazy, like calculate the value of pi. And if the warp core is blowing up, Scotty fixes it and bitches that he needs more time. And for all other problems, Kirk either kisses it or slaps it in the face. All right? So then it hit me, the Spock approach, okay? If we're going to come up with a fake story, and I think I got one, all right, it's got to be something that will create a feedback loop, a negative feedback loop in the right-wing echo chamber, okay, that will amplify, and they will all jump on it, and it will drive Trump crazy. And I think I have it, all right? We all have to tweet or X or whatever the fuck they're calling it this week, and Facebook and all this stuff, the following story. A secret recording has been found of Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden in a room where they admit on tape, they were secretly recorded, that everything Donald Trump has ever done was correct. He was perfect. They agree with everything he did as president. Okay? Obama is on tape as saying, I got to admit, Everything he did was right. The guy's a genius. And Hillary Clinton can go and his brain. She's quoted as saying his brain was so bigly, and Biden just nodded and said, sadly, he's such a stable genius. Okay, so now what would happen? Okay, all right, the right wing
Yeah.
media would go nuts with this. All right, Sean
Yes.
Hannity
Yes.
would literally have an orgasm on live television. All
Yes.
right, an
Yes.
orgasm on live television. They would be covering this
Yeah.
24/7. He was right every day. Now, but how is Trump going to react to this? Okay, is he going to be happy?
Yes.
No, he's going to be livid because this is going to drive him crazy because his whole life has been dedicated to tearing down everything that Obama has ever done, everything that Hillary
Right.
Clinton's ever done, everything that Joe Biden has done and is doing. And I think the conversation would go like this: everything Obama says, everything I do is right, but that can't be right because everything Obama does is wrong. And if he thinks everything I do is right, then that must mean everything I do is wrong. And I must stop everything I've ever done. But I can't stop anything I've ever done because everything I've ever done is right. I am the greatest, but I can't be the greatest if Obama and Biden like it. So I must destroy everything I've done. But I can't do that because I'm the great. And at this point, steam would come out of his head. Right? The lights would go out in his eyes and he'd fall off his
Yeah.
golden toilet into a
I love it.
coma, and the whole problem would be over. I think it would work. I think it would work. But that's
I love it. I love the premise.
that's just me.
It's
But I
great.
mean, really, how do yeah? How do we? I mean, how do we fight fake news?
You
I mean,
know,
really, how do
you
we
were
fight
talking about
fake news? I don't have an
Bill
answer.
Clinton before and how personable he is. Um, back in the 90s, I think it was 92 or 93. He had already done that little uh, call it can't call it a concert, but he was playing the sax and Carly Simon was singing, and it was a great evening. And we've talked about how wonderful that was to be just a part of it. I remember the next day, we those of us who were on the island, we were following him around as you do all celebrity, not all celebrity, but the presidential people. And he wound up, let's call it location A. Let's say it's a general store in Edgartown. And my crew was 20 minutes away, 15 minutes away. He happened to be there and he started to chat me up about the previous evening. And I told him, how cool it was. And it was great to see him relaxed and playing the sax or whatever it is he was playing. And he just looked at me and he said, well, what do you do when you have to wait for your crew and you're really anxious to do the interview? And so I said, well, I do what I'm doing now. I'm fumbling around and wondering what I should say to you and what you might say to me. And he said, I have the same way. I can't imitate him the way you do. But he said, I have the same problem. When I have the crowd or when I have the cameras, I really have to put myself in high gear. But right now, standing here and just chatting you up, uh, I feel very much at ease. And so I said, well, you take that sense of being and you just elevate it a little bit more when the cameras and microphones show up. And he said, yeah, he said, a lot of people think that I'm just this phony guy. And he said, I just know how to relate to the public. And I know where to go and where to stop in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I said, I absolutely. In my case, if I make a mistake, hopefully, if it's uh, if it's live, I can cover it, or if it's tape, hopefully someone will edit it. And then he said, I wish somebody would have edited me more over the years. And we both sort of laughed at each other. And he just calmed down and he said, you want to get something to drink? And I said, no, 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 no. I'm waiting for the crew to show up. And he said, no, no, I meant a soft drink. And we both laughed in that moment. So there's your comparison between Bill Clinton and what's his face. And I know this will be airing at a later date, but I wonder how many more contempt citations will be issued from the bench before what's his face is placed in jail for contempt of court. How far will they let him go?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. Hey, for all we know, when this airs, it could have already happened. And
It
seeing that
could have
this will
been.
probably air, 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from when we're recording this, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they've had discussions about it. The mayor of New York went on television and said, "Yep, we're ready. We can handle it." I'm not really sure what the issue is. They're going, you can't put a president in jail. He has Secret Service protection. To which I go, well, that's cool. I mean, how many convicts would love to have Secret Service protection? I mean, you go out in how many
Right.
prison movies have we seen? You go out in the courtyard and then somebody tries to shiv you. Well, not if you got two Secret Service agents, with you. I mean, I don't really quite get it. And there is a jail cell, a holding cell, right in the court there, and there's no reason why you just can't go. The law is $1,000 maximum fine for each uh, contempt of court citation,
Right.
or 30 days, no, up to 30 days in jail. And that doesn't mean that you have to put him in jail for 30 days. You don't have to put him in Rikers Island you can put him in that holding cell for the
Right.
afternoon, for
Exactly.
lunch. Okay. And then the next
Exactly.
time, well, you get to stay overnight, and you've got up to 30 days of that. And I know that, they don't want to do it because they say that he'll campaign off it, he'll make money off of it. Well, duh. So what? He's gonna send out campaign crap every day, no matter what happens. And is it going to, suddenly make somebody who is on the fence decide not to vote for Biden because of the horrible thing they did to this guy? No, not at all. Uh, I think people would be thrilled. And psychologically, uh, I don't think people really truly understand how serious this is affecting him. I mean, you can see it every day. He's a
Right.
guy.
Right.
Let's face it. He's suffering. He's suffering cognitive decline. You see it every day. You see it in
Yes.
his speeches. It's becoming more and more
Right.
apparent all the time because, and as any psychiatrist will tell you, the kind of stress that he's under exacerbates the 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 symptoms of his mental disease, which
Yes.
one of it is dementia and stress. I mean, he is showing all the signs of dementia. And I'm sorry, but I have family members who've had family members. I'm sure that everybody out there knows of somebody
Yes.
or has had a family member, a mom, a dad, a grandma, that ended up having Alzheimer's, or in my case, my
Right.
my mom had Parkinson's disease, and near the end, dementia was a part of it, and she was just beginning to have some serious memory loss before she passed away.
Right.
And we've all seen this, and we all know because, especially at our age or younger, we had to deal with our parents. And when this happens,
Yes.
you maybe you need to take away the car keys. All right, maybe you need to put them in assisted living, or if they're in assisted
Hmm.
living, maybe you have to move them to memory care. We've all done this. But the one thing that
Right.
nobody ever would do is make grandma the president of the United States. You put
Exact.
them in a nursing home, not the White House. So, you know,
Yep.
I
Yep.
everybody bitches that, Biden is too old. No, he's not too old. He's sane. He's, uh
Yeah.
again, it's just the dichotomy is just crazy, and the leeway that they keep giving this guy, it's really sad. I mean, it's showing the world and the country that, if you're rich enough or famous enough, uh, or you're running for president, you can get away with anything. And it looks like maybe the Supreme Court might be about to actually go along with it. I mean, think about it. They might be agreeing that a president has absolute immunity during and after his presidency to commit any kind of a crime. What planet are
It's
we
nuts.
living on?
The only comparison I have, and it's nowhere near close to what we're talking about, but I remember when I first came up to Boston and I was meeting some of the older reporters and other people who'd been up here, for decades, and they were telling me about the legendary James Michael Curley, who was the mayor of Boston for a long time, and he was running for governor. And since I wasn't around back then, my facts may be a little hazy, but the point is, he had to serve some time. And what was curious was he was also, I believe, campaigning, and his popularity went up when he was behind bars. But he was playing the scene. That's all. He was just playing James Michael Curley, the legend, and his popularity went out. This is not the same
He
scenario,
won.
but there were little things in there that make you wonder. Once you go behind bars, does that mean it's all over? No, if you know how to play it carefully. But this senility, Alzheimer's, it doesn't matter who you are; it's going to get you.
Who knows? Mayor Curley ran for office while in jail. He won
Right,
while in jail. He
right.
appointed somebody to be the acting mayor until he finished his sentence, and then he continued on as mayor, which I used to sort of be proud of because, Mayor Curley, I don't think we're related. I doubt it. But now it's like, oh my God, you can do that. What kind of a country is this? And we're not going to answer it this week or probably next week because we ran out of time. Did it again. Let's get to the plugs. Starting off Serendipity, Seeking Intelligent Life on Earth, Maryland's blog. Voicescapes Audio Theater for the best in audio, drama, and comedy. Half-hour radio shows, still funny. My sister podcast, Get Off My Lawn, starring me, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything. And please check out a show that I was involved in. I did the video for. It's something we should all listen to. It's called Between Americans, and you can hear it right here on this channel. So, all I can say after that is see you next week.